What's up, guys? It's Stamp. So today we're going to go through a video request that I get quite a bit, especially from newer people coming to the game as they're trickling on to other systems. And it's just basic walkthrough of what a dungeon should look like as you crawl through one. So I'm going to do my best to kind of keep this short and to the point. However, there's a lot of information to cover. So what we're going to do is just start with the ruins, one of the more basic dungeons, I think one of the more simpler ones. And I've got a party that I would definitely not consider the meta, especially for um, going through and doing a medium champion level run in the ruins. This definitely isn't a meta, but I think the party will be fine. The point of this is kind of go over some of the mechanics that I use and some of the things that I think would help you if you're looking for some basics and kind of just starting and kind of getting the idea. So I'm not going to go through the trinkets, but I will kind of show you real quick the concept and what I'm utilizing on the Hellion, for example, is, and the overall theme of this will be help their strengths or eliminate their weaknesses. So on the Hellion, I took her crits above average. Her melee is pretty strong, so I took additional crit. So we have 13% additional crit here. Additional accuracy, and we're going to take a hit on dodge and move resist. On the bounty hunter, same thing. I took additional melee damage. I took additional crit, additional accuracy, and then I'm going to take some hits on move and stun skill, and I'm going to have to eat more food, but that's fine. I always bring too much food. On the Vestal, I took her set piece because I really haven't used it that much, and I wanted to see how the stun translates, so that's the only reason that I brought her set piece. I just kind of wanted to try it out and see how it works. And then on the Plague Doctor, I offset the lower stun skill chance and almost have a guaranteed blight. The trade-off is that I'm going to take more stress, so I offset that stress with the Book of Sanity. So we're going to see how this goes, because it's definitely not the meta. It's definitely not meta trinkets. My guys for the meta that I would have went through are currently being, I guess, repaired is the best way to say it. So they're either in, getting healing for diseases or stress or what have you. So what we're going to do is I'll go through on a medium level dungeon what I typically will bring. So it's too much. I'm going to tell you that it's too much. You don't have to bring this much. The only thing I'd say is almost a guarantee. I've probably only had one run out of like 400 or 500 where 3 shovels hasn't been enough in a medium dungeon. Anti-venom, we really don't need to worry too much about anti-venom in that you're not going to have a lot of poison in this dungeon. I'm going to leave the one that we have and not really bother with it. I'm also not going through the curios. I don't need them at this point. It's too much of a risk. It's too much junk. It's just easier to get the collector, so I'm going to skip those. Same thing with bandages. I'm probably not going to get bled, and I'm not going to really worry too much about this. I'll heal through it. Herbs, same concept. Don't really need them. If I was to take these, I'd probably take 3 of each to give you guys some context. I'm going to bring 1 key in case we get the secret door, just to show you all that. Holy water, I'm going to bring a couple only because if I get the confessional, it's an easy free stress heal. Laudanum, I'll just bring 1. Again, don't really need them. On most medium dungeons, I take 16 torches. Again, it's too much, but playing over conservative is definitely the way to go in this game, for sure. Leaving the rest of these, not really going to touch them, not going to bother with them. So even right now, if you look at our inventory space, we have a chance, really, as soon as, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have 16 slots. We're using 10 of the 16. So even right now, bringing what I'm bringing, we have a chance to get the collector's attention. So what I'm going to do is pop the anti-venom, get it out of there. I can't get rid of it now, but I'm not going to use it really for anything. Hopefully it doesn't become a factor. So that's what we'll go through is our mission is essentially to get all the room battles out of the way. Now, one of the things that I would probably have done if I had her, but she was being healed, is I would have looked at bringing the Grave Robber for the scout chance. We still have pretty good scouting here with my Bounty Hunter, but it's not nearly what a Grave Robber would be. And what I'm going to do, we got very lucky on this layout, by the way. It's almost, progressional. what I'm going to do is do the least amount of combat to get through the dungeon. That's how I operate. I don't continue to try and do combat after combat. It doesn't really benefit you that much. Typically, you're taking more stress damage that's going to cost you more gold. So it's really get through it as quickly as possible. If you have a scout, it allows you to pick and choose kind of your battles and where you have to go and where you don't have to go. So since we don't have anything here, this room's getting completely ignored. If this is a battle that I needed to do for the quest, I'd go here. But I'd have to pick up an extra battle, and that's just additional stress that you really don't need. So hopefully we'll be able to get rid of that anti-venom pretty quickly.
The way is lit.
Let's light that now. Okay. So we got lucky in that we have a surprise check. My typical move on these type of fights, what I'm looking to do is I'm looking at eliminating the stress first and then eliminating damage and moving from there. So typically you're working in the back 2 rows and then moving forward on the front 2 rows. So since we got a surprise, we have a pretty big advantage, but this guy really needs to go is he's going to buff really the rest of the party. So we could look at stunning here. That's a possible move. Since we got the advantage, I'm just going to Plague Grenade. As you guys can tell, they're pretty weak. You look at their Blight Resist. It's not very good. And we have that buff to our Blight Resist. So I'm going to go ahead and just start and try and eliminate the stress and then eliminate the damage. So as we look at what she can do, she could probably drop her Judgment. If we had that, that would have been one of the plays that we could have done. But I've become more, in the last 6 months, more in favor of her becoming a stun bot if you're able to trinket that and make that the way that she's going to operate. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do with stun lock here and then focus damage back here with some of my heavier hitters. Again, because he has the prot, I'm probably not going to be able to kill him on the first turn. You know, you can see I can't hit 4th row. So I would be looking at hitting 3rd row, ideally. But if I can flashbang... See, he resisted, but it put him out of position, which is okay there, too. It's not the best play, but... Because he does hit pretty hard. But he wants to be in that 4th row in order to be really as strong as he can be. So the shuffle was an option there, just because I wouldn't have been able to end any turns. So we can Iron Swan and finish this off here, which eliminates really the bigger part of the stress. And then, depending on his stun resist is too high, so when we see that it's too high, I'm just going to focus and continue to AoE. Now, we didn't get as much damage as we could have there. So there was an option, of course, to damage these 2 rows, but the reason that I hit the 3rd row there is to stack this because he has additional prot. So now as you look, you've got a few different moves here. We could mark, but I'm not going to bother marking because it's almost a waste of the turn because he hits too hard. You have an 11% crit chance to hit 2nd row, or you have a 9% crit chance to hit 3rd row because we don't have a human and nobody's marked. So I'm going to try and hit 3rd row. Again, looking for a crit and trying to hit as hard as possible to get him out of there. At this point, we have... You know, we look at our Vestal, so she's got a stun that she can perform, which isn't a bad move here. Or I can try and heal to full. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually attempt to stun. Since these guys are hitting harder than normal. And on the last turn that she gets, if she gets there, I will heal an AoE heal.
Gently. This is how a life is taken.
It was a really low roll for that guy. So there I'm looking at just eliminating enemy turns for sure. Now she gets her turn, so we're going to heal just to top these guys off. Again, that's pretty conservative, but that's the way you typically play the game if you want to negate the amount of RNG that's used against you. And then as we look here, because we have the additional crit chance, we're going to swing at him, and we did get the crit.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
We're going to take the gold. I don't need any of that stuff. If I was you guys, I'd focus on the trinkets that you do need,
Packs laden with
and
loot,
then look at maximizing your gold
more
count.
supplies.
And that's pretty much all I would take. Once you start to get to the champion dungeons, you kind of know what to pick up. But I don't need any of um, and oh, there's a secret door. I don't need really any of those currencies to upgrade the buildings or anything like that. So I'm skipping them. But obviously, if you need them, you need to make room for them. Risk it versus the collector. You don't see him all that much, and as soon as I say that, I'm going to get him. But you really don't see the collector enough to shortchange yourself from that. You're going to need those things eventually.
In radiance.
Another thing I'll do, you guys notice, I try and keep the torch as full as I can at all times. There are times where you want to let your torch run down low in order to get maybe that benefit of, maybe you want to up the loot chance of certain things, but I really don't think it's worth the risk if something was to pop up that's not showing up on your map, like a boss, a collector that can leave you in a really bad spot. Alright, so we got a stealth character. We're going to treat him like he doesn't even exist. If we really were worried about who was in stealth, we would AoE it. You can still get some damage that way. But our main focus is here. This guy hits hard for damage, and she hits hard for stress. So you could pick that target depending on where your opportunities were. If you need to eliminate the guy with damage because your health's low, he's the first target. If you need one with stress, she's the first target. Here it really doesn't matter so much. So I'm going to look at their resistances and then choose from there. So stun 65, blade 60. So we could go either way. What I'm going to do is work on the double stun. And hope we get both of them stunned, which we did, even though we were surprised. Because I know that it's going to take probably more than 1 or 2 hits to get these guys down. Okay, well, we got lucky. So we crit there. That's, again, why I'm focusing on crit with her, because she can one-shot. From here, we can look at a stun here, because that's an obvious opportunity. Because he's going to get a turn. He's going to get a turn, but I can't really do anything with him. And he does hit pretty hard. This guy's a little more tanky than this one. She's already stunned. I didn't really bring Judgment. I could bypass the stealth here as another option. Really, this needs to be the focused target. If I had Judgment, that would be the play here. Since I didn't really bring it, or I'm not using it right now, I'm just going to go for the stun. Alright, from here, we already talked about she's the main target. So they're dead. This guy now becomes the main target because he hits the hardest out of these two. So we're going to bypass the stealth. Get him out of stealth. Make him the target. We aren't going to be able to stun him or blind him, so we're going to dot him. And I'm checking to see if he's going to die in his next turn either way. He still is going to have 1 HP, so we're just going to kill him.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
And we're looking at our highest crit modifier to use on him. And we finish him off.
Ghoulish horrors.
So again, we're going to take this and take the food because we're going to eat it anyway. We check to see if we have a debuff. And we do. So I'm going to get rid of this. Those up. This over. Sometimes I just like to keep this a little more organized. Alright, and then we've got the suit of armor. So let's see. Suit of armor. I don't know a lot of these off the top of my head anymore like I used to. So you guys can just Google it or look on the wiki for the curio. And you can get a defense buff or a quirk for Ruins Adventurer. Neither one of those is really a great one that I'd really be chasing to get. So I'm not gonna bother with it. So I'm just gonna skip it. Alright. Skip this. We've already completed that room battle. We've got our secret door here. So, and it's not going to cost us an additional fight since we have to go here anyway. So since this is one of the easier fights you can get, what we're going to do is focus on DPSing them down as quickly as possible, and our healer will use to top us off. So we can only damage one target there.
Press this advantage.
And if you notice, the amount of crits I'm getting is really keeping down my stress, which is another reason that I run what I do.
As the fiend falls,
The high crit percentage really helps you mitigate the vast majority of the damage you're going to take as far as stress goes.
mortality clarified in a single.
Now, they took a chunk because we got crit there ourselves. However, with 7 damage, we know this thing's already dead. So we're going to rotate and move around where we can and delay to a higher crit chance that maybe we can get a crit here and negate some of the stress. We didn't, but it was a way of possibly getting a way to mitigate some of her stress. And that can mean, over the course of a long dungeon especially, that can make a big difference. We'll hope we get a map. We didn't get one. So next we're going to look at... Hopefully we get a scout check. So we did. That's good. Which may allow us to eliminate this room. It does. So now we don't have to go there. We'll just head to the next room battle after we grab the secret door. So we just hit up, get the secret door. And from here, I'm going to have to use up some of this junk that I really have lying around. I've got... Go a couple different ways here. Probably get rid of this. The food can be worthwhile. Rid of that. Alright. Now we just walk out. I'm going to head back the other direction. Whoops, whoops. Wrong button. That flips you around when you go in there. Alright, so we got another battle coming up. Our torch is high enough. Again, they're surprised because it helps a lot that we had that scout check. So now we're looking at what we can do to stun here to delay some of the inevitable. So we are going to stun her. Alright. And she's the primary target. Grenade this. And we might be able to one-shot it, but just in case we need to hit it 3 or 4 times, that's why we're going to make her the target. So 10 damage. She's at 10 damage. Still, unfortunately, we are going to have to use a turn to eliminate her because of the stress. Now, he definitely causes stress. He definitely hits hard, but you can't leave her just on her own back here because it just causes way too much. Double the stress is way too much. So we're checking his weaknesses. He is weak to the blight. We're going to load up some of those. And then the laudanum will pop just because we have it. Now, there's a chance we could get a stun here, and that's probably the better move. And if we're able to get a stun off, it would mitigate a lot of damage and or stress on the next turn. So we got that. Now we're looking at what do we want to do here. So again, the higher crit, because he does have prot, we already know that it's probably going to take a few turns. So here you have an interesting option. You could pop if it bleeds, or you could run just Wicked Hack. Because you get the additional dot, I'm going to use if it bleeds. So we got lucky, we rolled high and got a crit. Now he's stunned, and he's nearly going to bleed to death this turn. That means that we're going to be able to use our some of our more defensive skills. So that should put him under. 15 damage he'll take, and he only has 13 HP. So again, we're going to swap here just to delay it. Heal. So she'll be at full health. And then if we had the bounty hunter go up, we'd have a chance to get an additional crit. So... Alright. Swap back. Here you could pop a key. I'm not going to worry about it. You could use holy water here for gems. I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to move forward. Okay, skipping this room because there's not our primary objective in it. Don't ever touch the books. Risk doesn't outweigh the reward. Or rather, it does. Keep the torch lit. Move forward to the next room where the room battle is. Notice I haven't camped. I don't even think about it. I basically treat it like it's not even an option. Because I really want to look at doing the stress.
As the light gains
The stress heal at the very end.
spirits are lifted.
So these two guys are primary targets because they hit so hard. We got lucky in that we got a crit on the first roll. But again, that's why I'm bringing high crit. And I'm going to try and stun him. Now, that you could say that's a waste of a stun because we could have stunned here. But I'm also going to stun in the front. Because he's got prot and it's going to take a while to kill him. And then we're going to focus down from the third row here. So again, we roll really high. But that's what we're trinketed for. So our threats are done. He's going to become the next target. Depending on when we go. When she goes, rather. Since she can't break him out of stealth. We'll just have to focus here for a second. Now we'll be able to target him with the bounty hunter before the end of the turn. We picked the higher crit roll. Unfortunately, we couldn't crit. We rolled really low there. Alright, and at this point, we're at a pretty big advantage. So this is when we look at healing. Once you get that additional head start, you kind of look at healing. So since he's faster, I'm eliminating him first just in case. Here we could play it really conservative and stun him since we're so far ahead and get an extra heal off. But I really don't play the game that way because it's too easy to get burnt doing that. So
Expedition at least promises success.
I'll just go ahead and eat this so I can get that stack of gold. I'll leave the rest there. Not going to worry about the chest. We didn't get a scout check, so if we had a grave robber, we probably would have. Who do we want with this buff? We take the buff, plus 40% damage. Keep the torch up. Now we got the scout check. Alright, so our last room is going to be here. Skip the books. Our first food check, that's good. It's alright, it's only 50 gold, we'll leave it. We know it's the last room. There's a key there that we don't have for that, so I'm going to go ahead and buff resistances just because I can. And he's in stealth, we're going to treat him really like he's not even there. Since she has illumination, there is, if you look at their stats, since he's prodded, there is a reason to bring him out of illumination, so I will. But typically I would tell you guys to treat him like they're really not there. But because I could bring him out and kill him before he even had a turn, that's the reason I changed the strategy there. Alright. We got another crit, and again, it's really based off of tapestry. Piece of candy. The amount of crit that I stack, so that's why I kind of wanted to show you. Don't need the shovels, so we'll take the extra gold. So our quest is complete. We're only going to hit continue because we're going to camp and take this little stress that's actually left. We're going to take it out of there. So as I'm bringing some of these guys to the dungeon, one of the things that I'm looking for to make sure is that you have a way to avoid being ambushed in the dungeon. So as you look through here, Sanctuary would be one you could bring. It prevents the ambush at night. Let's see. He doesn't have one. There's a few more that come to mind. I don't remember exactly which, but the Vestal I typically bring has it by default. And of course, I didn't bring it this time, so pro strats. But we'll just hope that we don't get it. Even if we do, we're still going to have minimum stress. So in case we do get a battle, we're going to go ahead and buff. Really doesn't matter too much. We don't have anybody with high enough dodge to justify that. Take that. Alright, there we go. Okay, so we got ambushed.
Can be found in the most tenebrous corners of this place.
And shuffled. So we're gonna make do to the best we can. That one's dead. If you notice, when you get ambushed here, the stress is magnified. You get more loot, but that's negligible here. But you notice they get buffed, so that's really why you want to try and prevent it. And of course I should have, and I didn't have it. So what are you gonna do? She doesn't have a great play here, so we're gonna back her up so that she can use her ability.
Unforeseen, unforgiving.
So we can get her up front. We're gonna use breakthrough. I normally don't because it debuffs her, but I wanted her to be able to get back in the first position just in case. So we had about 14 stress before. We're gonna end up with a little bit more than that probably here, but we'll see. Let's see. Okay, good enough. I didn't think that stun would go through, but alright, here we go. That one's dead. So we were still able to get through with lower stress than what we had. We ended up with 5 instead of 12, but the concept is that you have, in order to do that strategy, you really have to bring somebody that can eliminate that. So now we're done. So we're going to go ahead and end the quest.
Room by room, hall by hall.
And we ended up with 25,000 gold. No heirlooms because we didn't really need it. And then I kind of look at just what quirks we get. Nothing there. Rabies is debatable on keeping on your bounty hunters. The rest of these are, I mean, evasive's okay. I'd say it's probably a little below average on a plague doctor, but it's not too bad. I don't think I'd lock it in, but it's definitely not terrible. Alright, so we get out of there, and then my first things that I typically do when I get done with a raid is I go to the stagecoach and I see what's here. And it's week 500 for me, and I still come to the stagecoach every time, and I look for some of those quirks that are locked in. I've replaced a lot of champion 6 heroes, or level 6 heroes, the champion level ones. And 5s, you know, they're also champion level. I've replaced a lot of those with level 1s, level 0s, because the quirks were significantly better than what they had. It was worth the investment, the time investment. But I'm not going to make you guys kind of go through this, but that's just my mindset. As soon as I get out, I look at what event happened in town. I kind of get my bearings on who's in the stagecoach and if I need to add anyone to the roster, and then I move on. So hopefully you all found this helpful. I'm going to do a couple more of these to kind of give you an idea on who to bring and what it should look like. And I'll try and do one the next time with what I consider the meta. I think all my guys will be out of the dungeon now, or out of their healing now. So I'll do another one of those later. Thanks for your patience. I'm sorry I had a lot go on with my full-time job in the last month and a half. So that's finally settled down, so I wanted to make time to make a video for you. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for watching. See ya.